Um, okay. Good evening, all. I hope you're all keeping well and you had a wonderful day. Kindly confirm that I'm audible enough and that you're able to see my screen from wherever you are. I hope I'm audible enough. So we're just going to do a recap of what we covered yesterday, which was on the foundations of data analytics and what data analytics is, where we apply data analytics, and why it is relevant for us as in our different professions. Yeah. So we covered quite a number of things and majorly explaining what data is. And if you can recall, we said data is basically unprocessed information, yeah, raw facts and figures, which are yet to be processed for them to make sense. Yeah. Then for information, it's basically processed data or information that has already been cleaned and organized. And from that information, we are able to get some insights. Then from insights are basically conclusions of or whatever information we get from the data or the conclusions that we get from the data, that is what, from the processed data, that is what we call insights. Yeah, so that was in the introduction of, or rather the differences between data, information, and insights. Then we covered why data is important, especially in the age we are in. You realize every interaction that we have involves data collection. So how are we supposed to use that data? And for our case here, we looked at practical examples, like for us to develop, for those that are in policy development, you need data to develop evidence-based policies. Yeah, you cannot just develop policies out of assumptions or what you think or what you feel. It has to be evidence-based. Yeah. When it comes to budget allocation, you have to have details about, maybe if you're talking about different counties, you need to know what is the population in Kiambu County, what is the population in Nairobi County, how much money do we need, or how much funds do we need for those counties based on maybe how big the county is, or based on the needs. So that is to mean you have to collect data first, then you can go ahead and allocate funds. When it comes to monitoring and evaluation, data has to be involved. Yeah. And also in matters, sorry. My screen is acting up, but just give me a minute. And also in matters to do with disaster management. Yeah. For example, for us to prepare for the El Nino rains that are expected, the Kenya Meteorological Department, they have to release some information. They have to use data for them to know that maybe in a few months' time, we're going to have those rains. And now that information is supposed to be used by people in the ministry that deals with disaster management in the country. Yeah. So that is basically why data is important. Yeah. Now, the reason, or the most important thing with data analytics, or the end goal of data analytics is converting data to decisions, converting raw facts and figures to decisions. Yeah. And for us to come from data to decision, we have a workflow that we work with, and the workflow has a number of steps that you need to follow, at least like 5 to 7 steps, depending on the kind of analysis that you're doing. But the end goal should be decision. We are trying to make a decision. And the first step is business problem. You have to understand, what are we trying to solve? You have to understand the problem that you're trying to solve, so that you're able to know which data to collect. Once you collect that data, you have to go to data cleaning, where you remove duplicates, you want to remove or rather you want to handle missing values, you want to deal with structural errors, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Then once you're done with data cleaning, now you proceed to data preparation. And why are you preparing data? To make sure that your data is fit for analysis. Okay, so there's data cleaning, where you're handling errors. Then there's data preparation. You're preparing this data that has already been cleaned to be fit for data analysis. Then from the analysis, the results you get, you're able to get insights or conclusions. From those conclusions, you're able to recommend an action, which is basically making decision. That is the data analysis workflow. Remember, the end goal is decision. We are trying to make a decision here. Now, in data, what is data analytics? Yeah. In simple terms, data analytics is, first of all, it is a process. It is a procedure, which entails data has to be there, and the end goal is decisions. So what happens in between? We have data collection, cleaning of that data, preparing that data, analyzing, and interpreting the results for you to be able to make decisions. As simple as that. You collect data, clean that data, transform it, analyze that data, and the results that you get from the analysis, you try and draw conclusions, not trying per se, but you get conclusions from those results. Then with the conclusions, you're supposed to make decisions. That is what data analytics is in simple terms. And we have, I'm sure we've interacted with data in one way or another. And we have an example here that we looked at yesterday, just to remind you. In the Ministry of Health, we have data that is collected daily, which includes patients treated and diseases diagnosed. We have medicines dispensed. We have number of births and maternal deaths. Then we have waiting time before treatment. So how can we make use of this data? Yeah, with this data, we can answer a number of questions. So for example, if you want to know which counties have the highest malaria cases, if we have a data set that has hospitals in different counties, and those hospitals have details about patients and the diseases they are diagnosed with, then you'll be able to answer the question, which counties have the highest malaria cases. Yeah. If you were to answer which diseases are increasing over time, yeah, then we can decide to use the first data set, patients treated and diseases diagnosed. Yeah, so because that data is real time. So these are just but examples where we can use data analytics, that is in the Ministry of Health. Then we have in county government, if they want to know revenue collected over time, in a month's time or in 6 months' time. For KRA, if they want to maybe predict future tax revenue, they're going to use data that has been collected in the previous years, then they can use some statistical techniques for them to be able to predict, tax revenues in the next or in the following year. Yeah. So what is the benefit of data analytics? It's basically, it helps us make decisions better, helps in fraud detection, those that are in banks, those that are in, National Treasury. These are some of the things that you can use, make use of, rather. Then if you want to improve service delivery, for example, in Huduma centers, if you want to allocate resources efficiently, you can make use of data analytics. Now, this is a recap, so I'm just trying to remind you what we did yesterday. And I'm going to proceed to, we've talked about the data analytics life cycle, and we've said it has around 5 to 7 steps. Yeah. And just to mention them, and we're going to look at them today, you have to define the business problem, you have to you define the business problem, then collect the data. Once you collect your data, you clean that data, prepare that data for analysis, then you can do some data visualizations. And I said data visualization helps in making your work easier when it comes to understanding your data. Again, it is easier, and I would want us to agree that it is easier to understand data when given a pie chart, compared to when given an Excel workbook. With an Excel workbook, you might need to go through the numbers, then do calculations for you to be able to understand that data. And maybe you're just calculating the average of a particular column. But if you've been given a pie chart or a bar graph, it will be easier for you to understand because it's visual, you can see it, you're able to interpret faster. And that is where data visualization comes in when it comes to data analytics, yeah? Then once you visualize your data, you can now go ahead and remember, we are coming from data analysis to data visualization. Then you go to insights, drawing insights from your analysis and your visualizations. Then you go ahead and do what? Make decisions or recommend an action. And then once you recommend an action, you can go ahead and now monitor. Now, if this is if you say that you're supposed to deploy mobile vaccination clinics, you have to monitor whether that action is really making sense in terms of is there a difference between before us using that recommendation and after us using that recommendation. Okay, so that is where monitoring and evaluation comes in. Now that is the data analytics life cycle. And anytime you're doing a project on data analysis, it is advisable that you follow that procedure as it is. You follow those steps, yeah? And each step builds on the other because you have to first define the problem. You want to know, what am I doing, yeah? What am I supposed to do? What problem am I solving? Then you can now go to data collection. So you cannot start from data collection, then you define the problem. No, you have to start with you have to start with defining a problem, then you proceed to collecting relevant data. Okay, then you can proceed with the other steps. My point is, you have to follow each step. You're not supposed to skip any step, by the way. When you skip a step, trust you me, the results that you're going to get, they're likely to be inaccurate. So it's advisable, make sure you follow those steps, yeah? Then after that, we looked at the 4 types of data analytics. We have 4 types. We have the descriptive analytics, which answers the question, what happened? So what happens in this case? You use the historical data. You want to understand the historical data, the data that you already have. You want to understand, okay, what is this data? Yeah, So under descriptive analytics, you can do some, visualizations just to understand what is the proportion, what was the average, and so on and so forth. That is descriptive analytics. Then we have diagnostic analytics. For diagnostic analytics, we want to answer the question, why did it happen? Why do we have the average as 50? Yeah, so you go ahead and investigate on the factors. So the difference between descriptive analytics and diagnostic is that in descriptive analytics, your results are likely to be numerical. But when it comes to diagnostic, your results are text type of data because you're giving us explanations that the reason as to why the average was 50 this month and the other month was maybe 70 is because of this, this, and this. Okay? So diagnostic, the results are explanations. Okay? Then you go to predictive analytics. What are we doing in predictive analytics? It answers the question, what is likely to happen? So we are looking at the future. So if this is the current situation, which has been caused by these factors, so can we predict how will the future look like? So that is predictive analytics. What is likely to happen? Then we now have prescriptive analytics. So prescriptive analytics answers the question, what should we do about it? What are the recommendations? What action should be taken? Okay, so again, these types of analytics are a build-up of each other. So we start with descriptive analytics. We just want to understand the data that has been collected. Then we go ahead and understand why did it happen. Then we proceed with predicting the future based on historical data. Then you can now go ahead and recommend an action. And of course, once you recommend, you're basically, or rather with the recommendation, you're basically making a decision. As simple as that. Okay, so what you're supposed to remember in the types under, the 4 types of data analytics is, what are the questions? What questions are we answering? Okay. So those are the 4 types of data analytics. And then we covered, after that, we covered the data analytics ecosystem. And we said the data analytics ecosystem has 5 disciplines. Yeah, it has 5 disciplines. Which are data. We have data, which is the foundation. We cannot have business intelligence, data analytics, data science, and artificial intelligence without data. So we start with data. And what do we do with data? We collect that data and then manage it. Management of data is basically cleaning that data, transforming it for analysis, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so we start with data. Data has to be there as the foundation. Then we now proceed to business intelligence. And business intelligence, I said, if you can recall, business intelligence, under business intelligence, we want to visualize this data. So it's a way of trying to understand the data, but in a visual way. So under business intelligence, that is where we have reports and dashboards. Okay, and we have tools that we usually use for business intelligence. We have Power BI, we have Tableau, we have Looker Studio, we have Qlik, and we have SAP. Okay, then we have data analytics. We've talked about data analytics, and data analytics is basically the process of collecting that data, collecting, cleaning, transforming, analyzing, and then getting insights from your results. Okay, that is data analytics. And then we have data science. Under data science, we have a number of disciplines that we work with when it comes to data science. And we said data science is a multidisciplinary field which combines statistics, mathematics, programming, machine learning, and domain expertise or domain knowledge to solve complex problems. Yeah, so that is data science. It's a combination of a number of disciplines: statistics, mathematics, programming, machine learning, and also domain knowledge. You cannot do a data science project without the domain knowledge. Why? Because in as much as maybe you're well versed with the tools, you're well versed with Python programming language or the R programming language, you need to interpret. You need to interpret the results, and you need to know these are the problems that we usually have in this particular domain or in this sector. So what am I supposed, if it's a model that you're building, what are we supposed to enhance? What feature are we supposed to add? That is where the domain knowledge comes in. Okay, so that is under data science. Still under data science, that is where we have machine learning. Yeah, and machine learning, it enables computers to learn from historical data and improve performance without being programmed. That is machine learning. And you have a number of machine learning algorithms, depending on the task that you're performing. You have classification, we have predictive, and so on and so forth. There are quite a number. Yeah. Then now, lastly, we have artificial intelligence, and I'm sure we've interacted with artificial intelligence. This one simulates human intelligence, and artificial intelligence has been built, or rather is a buildup of machine learning. Yeah, and it helps in solving problems, understanding language, and making decisions. That is artificial intelligence. And the common artificial intelligence tools that we have at the moment are ChatGPT, we have Cloudy, we have Microsoft Copilot, we have Gemini, and so on and so forth. There are quite a number. Yeah. So that is under artificial intelligence. So that is what we covered yesterday. And I hope we were able to understand, or rather at least get something. So today we're going to proceed to data collection, data cleaning, and preparation. Yeah, and we just want to understand there's a lot of emphasis under data analytics. There's a lot of emphasis on data collection.
Wangari, just a minute.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Kioko from ICT Authority.
Yeah.
And thanks for the good recap that you have given us for the day.
Yeah.
Only that to understand, some people had said that they didn't manage to join the class yesterday, and we told them no problem for them starting today. I don't quite want to interrupt your class, but just give them some heads up on what is happening here, so that as we continue, we don't have so many people asking this and that who might have joined today, because we understand that it's not possible for people to be there always. Thank you, Wangari, for the good recap. My name is Connie Kioko from ICT Authority, where we are running the Citizen Digital Training Program with Sigma Digital Training Institute and other partners, where we aim to impart this knowledge to over 20 million citizens. Let me not take much of your time, but just to give some simple instructions on what happens after this. This training started yesterday, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. The class will repeat itself today and tomorrow, introducing new concepts. Then after that, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, we expect to share the training materials with you. Once we share the training materials with you, you go through them. After that, we'll onboard you to the Smart Academy portal, where you will do your assessment. Once you pass your assessment is when you get your certificate. And kindly, we are circulating a Google form for you to fill your attendance. Kindly, this Google form, you fill your attendance once, because after you fill it, is now where we capture your details if we didn't capture them correctly in class. So despite the Teams app capturing your attendance, kindly go back to the Google form we are sharing on all platforms, YouTube, WhatsApp groups, and even here on the Q&A session. When you find it, ensure you fill it, because these are very big class. We don't expect to solve one individual issues while we could have solved it with one announcement. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking your time joining this class. Let me wish you the very best and the knowledgeable trainer to take it over. Continue being ambassadors of the Smart Academy portal, ICT Authority, and digital skills training. Thank you. And once again, Wangari, I regret for interrupting.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kioko. Thank you for that. And again, just to remind you, in case you have a question, kindly, we have the Q&A section. You can just drop your question there. Then we're going to, at the end of the class, we're going to answer the questions that you are able to. But also for those that are not going to be answered, we have a document that is going to be shared with the questions and the answers. Yeah. So we continue.
Again, Wangari.
Yes, yes.
You can respond. People were asking about the assessment that was shared yesterday. When we are saying that they are logging in today and able to check it. You can give something on that, because for us, we will issue the final assessment to the certificate. But for the ones which we issue during the class, you can respond to that. There were so many questions around it.
Okay, so I think my team are going to assist with that together with the ICT Authority people. They're going to solve that. I'm sure by the end of the class, they'll have shared that link again, the assessment again. Yeah, and sorry about that. So allow me to proceed. So today we are going to look at data collection, cleaning, and preparation, and also look at the different data analytics tools that we have. Yeah. And data collection, you realize data collection, cleaning, and preparation has been insisted so much. It is because every time you're doing data analysis, you want to make sure that the results that you get are accurate. Yeah. And there's this saying that says garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you feed your machine with, or whatever data you give you give for analysis, those are the results that you expect. If it's accurate, then your results are going to be accurate. If they are not, if your data is not accurate, then the results that you're going to get, they're going to be inaccurate. And that is why we insist so much on data, making sure that when you're collecting your data, you're using the right, first of all, you collect you get the most relevant data. Okay, data that is making sense. Then you go ahead and clean that data. And why are you cleaning? What is the essence of cleaning that data? Okay, then prepare that data for analysis. Okay, now, as we are doing this, we are looking at data quality. We want to make sure that we have quality, the right quality for our analysis. So when it comes to collection of data, make sure you gather relevant, reliable data from appropriate sources. Okay. Number two, Go ahead and clean that data. And while cleaning your data, what are you doing? You want to remove errors, structural errors. You want to remove duplicates, and you want to handle missing values. If you have, missing data or missing values, you want to handle those missing values and any sort of inconsistencies. Once you're done with that, you go ahead and do what? Prepare your data. This is where you organize your data into a format ready for analysis. In as much as you've cleaned that data, you want to make sure that that data is fit for analysis, and that is where we have data preparation. Now, when it comes to data collection, we have a number of ways of collecting data, and we have a number of sources. We have primary sources, and we have secondary sources. So for primary sources, this is where you collect the data yourself. And for you to collect that data yourself, you can decide to use surveys, or under surveys, we have questionnaires, we have the physical papers or the hard copies. We also have online surveys, like the Google Forms that we've been using. We have Kobo, the Kobo forms, we have ODK, and so on and so forth. So that is under surveys and administrative records, where we have questionnaires, we have census reports, we have attendance records, and government administrative systems. Number two, we have information systems, such as HMIS, we have IFMIS, we have eCitizen, we have KRA databases, and so on and so forth. There are quite a number, the information systems. Then we have sensors and observations. Under that, we have weather stations, we have GPS trackers, we have satellite imagery, and field observations. So the quality of analysis depends on the quality of data collected. So always identify the most reliable source for your business question. That last bit is very important. You cannot collect data, and I insist, you cannot collect data without having understood your business question. Otherwise, you're going to collect irrelevant data. And of course, irrelevant data is going to give you inaccurate results. So it's important that, first of all, understand, what am I collecting? If it's something to do with maybe gender, or maybe not gender per se, but something to do with, say, education status or something, make sure you collect you get the questions right. Okay, with this information, what am I supposed to answer, or what is the problem that I'm trying to solve? Okay, that is under data collection. Now, we have collected our data. We now proceed to data cleaning. And the most common issues that we usually deal with when it
Wangari, we seem to have lost you. I don't know whether you're able to get us, or it's a challenge from my end. Ricky, are you able to get Wangari?
Let me find out. Just a minute.
Good evening, team. While we wait for Wangari to join in, just a small announcement. I'll be posting the attendance sheet. I know that those who are asking about it from yesterday. We'll have this available both on the Q&A chat box. We'll also have it on the general WhatsApp group. In case you don't have a link, just refer to the pinned message that we had shared earlier. And for any questions, just keep them coming. We'll have them addressed within the period of the lessons today. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm, for that clarification. As they are also waiting, I know the link has been updated. Those who are saying that they can't capture details for day 2, apart from the communication that we had, kindly check you are now able to follow. I see so many people asking and I'm able to respond, but here I'm able to make one announcement. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So we've just looked at data collection. Now we proceed to data cleaning. And under data cleaning, the most common issues that we usually have are duplicate records. Yeah. And I said yesterday that duplicate records are records that are the same. They are repeated records, including the column that is supposed to have unique features, or I mean the column that is supposed to hold a unique number has also been repeated. Okay, that is a duplicate record, a record that has been repeated. All the columns are similar, they are the same. So for duplicate records, we do away with them. We do not replace anything, we just do away with them, because that is redundancy. Okay. Then the other problem that we deal with when it comes to data cleaning is spelling mistakes and typos. Yeah, you want to check whether the names, maybe if you're dealing with Nairobi County, are the names written the way they're supposed to be written? Yeah. We have missing values. We have a number of ways of dealing with missing values. And one of the ways is replacing that missing value. And how do you replace missing values? If you're dealing with numerical type of data, you can decide to use the median of that particular column. So you calculate the median of that column, then the result that you get, that is the number that you put in that missing space. Okay. Now, there are those institutions which usually have a particular value that they usually use. Okay, so that is why domain knowledge is very important, because if maybe you're in the auditing firms, you're in an audit firm, you know what to replace. The value that you're supposed to use in case you have a missing value. Okay. But the most commonly used is median. And the reason why we go for median is because median is not affected by outliers. What are outliers? Outliers are numbers that are not within the range of numbers that you have. They could be either very small or extremely large. Okay, so if you are to use mean or the average of that particular column, then it's going to be affected by outliers if they are there. So that is why it is safer and it is advised for you to work with a median. So you can either do away with that row with the missing values, or replace that missing value. If it's a numerical number, you can replace it using the median. Or if you're in an institution that you already have a specific number, or not a number, but a specific value that you usually use, then you can replace using that value. Now, allow me to go back to the option of doing away with the entire row. Doing away with the entire row applies in cases where you have huge data sets. Okay, you have a huge data set such that if you have one row that has a missing value, it will not affect the analysis. It will not have a huge impact. But in cases where you have a small data set, then you might have to replace that value instead of doing away with that row. I hope that is clear. So when dealing with missing values, deleting that row is not usually the first option. Why? Because it's going to interfere with the analysis because it was part of that particular data set. So the option is supposed to be, how do I replace this in value? Okay. Then the fourth issue that we usually deal with while cleaning data is inconsistent formats. Okay, then we have incorrect entries. And you have an example here where we have inconsistency. So the first row was Nairobi, which has the first letter as capital N, then the other ones are in lowercase. So you want to standardize this, yeah, and make sure that the standardized format it should be Nairobi, starting with capital N, and the others are in small letters, okay? Then we have NRB. So that is to mean, remember, we want to have some consistency. Yeah, so we're going to change NRB to Nairobi. Then we have Nairobi in uppercase. So we need to put it in the right format, which is Nairobi, start with capital N, and the rest are in lowercase. So all entries must be standardized to a single format before analysis can begin. And by the way, just to mention, it is on this particular step that we usually take most of the time. You can take, if you're dealing with huge data set, you can take a number of days to clean your data. Yeah, because you have to go through every column and make sure that the data is consistent, make sure that the data is in the right format, make sure that the data is in its right type. Okay, that is data cleaning. I hope that is clear up to that point. Then after we've cleaned the data, we proceed to preparing that data for analysis. And I said data preparation is basically making, or rather transforming your data, the data that has already been cleaned, to data that is fit for analysis. Okay, so this is where you sort data. This is where you filter records. This is where you create variables. Yeah, because maybe the data that you had originally cannot be used for, for analysis, depending on the technique that you want to use. So you want to convert, so I'll give you an example of gender is either male or female, yeah? But when it comes to analysis, you might not be able to use the text data type. So you want to give them a numerical format, where you have male takes 1 and female takes 0. Yeah, so that happens under the data preparation step. Okay, you want to create variables, you want to categorize your data. For example, if you have a data set where maybe you're dealing with exam scores and you want to grade that data, where maybe 70 and above should be graded as A, then 60 to 69 should be graded as B, 50 to 59 should be graded as C, and so on and so forth. So you want to categorize your data. It is on the data preparation step that we usually do that. you want to categorize your data, you want to combine a number of data sets, it is usually done at the preparation stage. And of course, this comes after cleaning your data. So your data is already consistent. Your data has the right features. Then you can now come to data preparation. So preparation transforms cleaned data into a format suitable for analysis, ensuring that the data set is structured, complete, and ready to answer the original business questions. Now, remember we've said the reason why we really have to clean this data and prepare it for analysis, we are looking at data quality, okay? So under data quality, what we are looking at, we have a number of aspects that we look at. We have accuracy. So data correctly represents the real world values it is meant to capture. So you have to make sure that your data is accurate, okay? Number two, completeness. And under completeness, all required data is present with no critical missing values. So your data is complete. Your data should be consistent. That is to mean there should be uniformity across all records and systems, no contradictions. If you're working with NRB, then the entire column should have NRB and not NRB and some other records have Nairobi, something of the sort. Yeah, so you have to make sure that your data is consistent. The fourth dimension is timeliness. And under timeliness, we are looking at this data should be current and available when needed for decision making. And lastly, validity, where your data should conform to defined formats, ranges, and business rules. So those are the things that we look at when cleaning data. How accurate is my data? And this one, accuracy is usually checked at, okay, the checkpoint for accuracy is at data collection, the data collection stage. Make sure you collect accurate data. And that is also look at completeness. Do we have any missing values? Make sure that all the questions have been answered if you're using surveys or questionnaires for data collection. And if not, if this data, you've gotten it from someone else, they've shared the data set, you want to check, do we have any missing value? And if we have one, how do we replace that missing value? Okay, then consistency in terms of formatting and structural errors. Then timeliness, your data should be up to date. Okay, and validity, make sure your data conforms to the formats that are needed for analysis. That is data quality. Okay. Now, we've looked at what data analytics is. We've looked at data collection and the different ways of collecting data and the different sources that we have for data. Then we've looked at data cleaning and why it is important. Data transformation or data preparation and why it is important. Now, the next bit is data analysis. And data analysis involves a lot of techniques. It depends on the tool that you're using. And again, the task you're performing. What question am I answering? Is it a predictive question? Is it just summary statistics? What am I answering? And for us to be able to do data analysis, we usually use tools. We have a number of tools that we usually use. We have Microsoft Excel. I'm sure we have interacted with Microsoft Excel. And this one is best for data cleaning. Pivot tables. Pivot tables are used for summary statistics. We have charts. If you want to visualize your data, we have charts in Excel. We have basic statistical analysis analysis. And this one is ideal for most government analysts, or, if you want to do basic analysis, you can do it from Excel. Okay. Then we have Power BI and Tableau. These two are used in business intelligence, yeah, and they're best for interactive dashboards, KPI monitoring, and visual reporting for management. So if you're in a department where you're supposed to send some reports or dashboard to share, reports and dashboards at the end of the month or beginning of every month, then you can work with a Power BI. I mean, not a Power BI, but Power BI or Tableau. Okay. Then we have SQL, structured query language, and we have a number of database management systems under SQL. So SQL helps in managing your data. Yeah. So first of all, storing your data, that is the first thing. Number two, if you want to update your data, we have queries that are used to help in, updating your data. You need to delete some tables and so on and so forth. So SQL is basically a database management system. Okay. So this one is best for querying large databases, extracting and filtering records from information systems. Okay. Then we have Python, R, and SPSS. This one is used for advanced statistical analysis, especially R and SPSS. We have predictive modeling, and we have large-scale data science projects. With that, you can use R or Python. So these are the most commonly used data analysis tools. Yeah. And for this particular training, we're going to look at I believe two should be Microsoft Excel and Power BI. Yeah. So when are you supposed to use those tools? If you have a cleaning, if you want to clean your data, summarize your data, and visualize small to medium data sets, you can work with Excel. Okay. I want you to take note of small to medium data sets. I think Excel can take up to 1 million entries, if I'm not wrong. And anything beyond that, and even with that 1 million, it might give you a lot of problems. You see the notifications of Microsoft Excel not responding, you're likely to come across such. Yeah. So that is why Excel is recommended for small to medium data sets. Then we have Power BI. Power BI is used for building interactive dashboards and reports. SQL, again, if you have a database, or rather you want to start, you want to store huge data sets, you can work with SQL. For advanced modeling, machine learning, and big data analysis, you can work with Python or R. Then for statistical analysis, you can work with SPSS or Stata. Yeah, so those are the tools that are used for data analysis. Okay. Now, as I had mentioned, for our training, we're going to work with two tools, or rather, we're going to look at two tools. Yeah, and the first tool that we're going to look at is Microsoft Excel, and I'm sure most of us have interacted with Microsoft Excel. And this one is one of the most commonly used data analytics tools in the world. And it is, when it comes to reporting, financial analysis, and even from the analysis, for you to be able to make evidence-based decisions, you can work with Excel. Again, Excel is used, or rather, we go for Excel in cases where we have small to medium data sets. Otherwise, if you work with huge data sets, if you're working with huge data sets, it might mess you up a little bit because it's a bit slower. Okay. So how is data structured in Excel? As we all know, in Excel, we have rows and columns. data is stored in form of, quote in quote, a table where we have rows and then we have columns. And each row represents a record, okay? Each row represents a record and each column represents a variable like name, county, or amount, okay? Normally, the first row usually has column headers, those variable names. Is it name, is it county, or narration, any narration, yeah, that is describing those records. And then no merged cells in data ranges, no blank rows within data, and it uses consistent formats. Okay, let me show you. I have a data set here that we'll be using. And this is Excel. And this Excel, have whatever I have. That one is a row. Rows are usually horizontal. Okay, let me just highlight one here. So whatever I have highlighted there, the yellow one, that one is a row. It represents records. So we have our first record as P001. Those are details. That is the patient ID. So these are details about a patient whose ID is P001. Their visit date is, they visited the hospital on 8th of January 2026. They are from the Nairobi County. They went, their sub-county is Westlands. They went to facility ID F002. Their gender is male. Their age is 14. Their disease is maternal health. Were they admitted? Yes, they were. What was the treatment cost? 20,849. What was the insurance type? It was private. And what was the outcome? They recovered. Okay, so this here is a row. Then we have a column. I'm going to highlight this column using another color. So the green color there highlights a column by the name patient ID. Okay, so we have patient ID, visit date, county, sub-county, facility ID, gender, age, disease, admission, treatment cost, insurance, outcome. Those are columns. Then the other ones, the horizontal ones, are rows, just to remind you. Okay. Now, normally, the first row here, this first row here represents, or rather contains, the column headers. So like column A is patient ID, column B, visit date, and so on and so forth. So I'm just reminding you, because I'm sure you've interacted with this with Excel, yeah? Then the other bit is when using Excel, you're supposed to make sure that your data types are consistent. And how do you make sure that your data types are consistent? By first of all, making sure that the data types for each column are correct. Okay, so how do we check data types in Excel? Yeah, so we have this Excel ribbon. So this is the Microsoft Excel home ribbon. Under home, we have something that is after. So we have clipboard. Under clipboard, that is where we have cut. If you want to copy and paste, we have that. Then we have format painter, then we have paste, okay? Then we have font. This is where you're working on. If you're working on maybe the text data type, you want to make sure, or you want to format your structure in terms of what is the font, what is the font size, is it bold, is it italic, should it be underlined, how about the borders of that particular table, how are they supposed to look like, and so on and so forth. Do you need fill color like what we have here? Our fill color here is green. When it comes to the font color, do you want your records to be in red or to be in yellow? Whatever color, okay? Then we have alignment. Alignment comes in, how do you want your text data type to be aligned? Should it be at the center? Should it be at the left? Should it be at the right? Okay. In those cases where you have your text data type, which is a bit long, you might need to have it wrapped. So we have wrap text. And in case you want to merge a number of columns, yeah, for example, if you want to do a title, you can merge and center, merge a number of cells. Okay. Now, my main focus, I was coming to this bit where we have number. Under number, this is where we have data types. Okay. Under number is where we have data types. Now, I want to know this first column by the name patient ID. What data type does it contain? So I'm going to go to home. First of all, I'm going to highlight that, select that, then go to home. Under number, there's this drop-down list here. They are quite a number. So you have general type of data, no specific format. Okay. Then we have number. Number is numerical data type. Okay. Then we have currency. Currency and accounting. Currency is where you tell us, is it Kenya shillings? Is it USD? So first of all, it has to be numerical. Then you have to be specific. Is it USD? Now, for currency, you usually put those symbols. If you select currency, it's going to give us the symbols. Okay? Currency symbols. Then we have accounting. Accounting is basically numerical, and it might also have, let me see, we're going to look at that because we have a numerical type of data. I mean, a numerical column here, so we're going to work with that. Then for short date, it's the normal way of writing dates in form of DD, MM, YYYY, the normal way. Then the long date is where you give us in full, okay? Then time, in cases where you have time data, like this data was collected at 12 noon, yeah, you can use time data. Then we have percentage. If you want to add a percentage, or rather you want to record that particular column as a percentage column, you select that. Okay, then fraction, that is for decimal numbers, then scientific, then text data type. Then we have more number formats. We have special type of data like zip codes for numbers, social security numbers, and then you have custom. So for custom type of data, you're the one to, you're the one to customize your data, the format that you want it to take. Okay. Now, for this particular data, P001, now the patient's ID, this is likely to be a text data type. Why text data type? Because if it's numerical, it should be purely numerical. Okay, so it should be 001. But now I want to mention this. When it comes to you selecting data type in Excel, you need to familiarize yourself with the data set. You need to understand. So patient ID, what is that? I mean, can we use that data for analysis? No, we cannot, because this is just an ID. It's for identification. Okay. So if we were to convert it to a number type of a number or a numerical type of data, then you're expected to do some calculations with it. But we don't need we don't need to use it for calculation. That is why when you look at the data types that we have, you select, I want you to take note of, it's already text data type, okay? Then we go to the second column. The second column, this is visit date. So you expect that data type should be date, okay? It should be date. So you go to home and it is date for sure, okay? Then we have county, it is text data type because it, for sure it is, it is text for sub-county. It is also text for facility. ID, I want you to take note of, it is alphanumeric. So that is to mean it's a combination of a letter, or rather letters and numbers. So that one is going to fall under the text data type. Then we have gender. It is also text. Then we have age. It is number. I hope you can see that. It is number because it's numerical. Disease, it's text data type. Admission, it is text data type. When it comes to cost, it is also number. Yeah, but what if we change it to maybe something like accounting? So I want you to realize that under accounting, it gives you currency. Do we need that currency? It is not compulsory unless you're doing it for, to report. Yeah, so if you don't need the currency in your data set before you go ahead and analyze, then you can just work with numbers. And if you want to remove these decimal places, you can just, we have the arrow facing left. Yeah, that one is for increasing decimal places. So if I select that, it's going to give me 3. If I want to reduce it to no decimal numbers, then you can use the arrow facing the right, decrease decimal. Okay. Then we have insurance type. This one is text data type. Then we have outcome. Under outcome, we have text data type. Okay. Those are the data types that we have in Excel. I hope that is clear. And by the way, that is the once, even before you proceed to now checking whether you have blanks in your data or missing values or some sort of inconsistencies, you need to first of all but make sure that you are aware of the data types that you're dealing with. And that is why when you're given a data set, go through it, understand these column headers, understand those variables. So if you're talking about patient ID, what do I expect to have there? It could be numbers, but these numbers should be unique numbers. So we're not going to use them for calculations. If it's visit date, how is the date format? Is it the normal format or is it the long format? Okay. When it comes to county, is it text data type? Are we dealing with county? I believe we have like county 001, we have those codes, county codes, or are we dealing with county names? Okay, so it is important for you, before you even proceed to now cleaning your data, make sure that you're well versed with the data set that you're dealing with. Make sure you understand all the variables and the type of data they contain. And I've shown you how to check data types. And if you need to change, you just select the data type that is supposed to be on that particular column. I hope that is clear. Now, remember, this data, we've just been given a data set. For our case, we are using Microsoft Excel for data analysis, okay? So for us to use this data set for analysis, it is important for you to convert that data set to a table, okay? We are doing that, first of all, to make sure that we've now come from just collecting data, having a data set, to now converting it to a table that is going to be used for analysis. Okay, I know this is something that we usually don't do it, but it's, I mean, for someone who is in data analysis, it's important for you to do that. Yeah, so how do you format an Excel file or an Excel worksheet to a table that is supposed to be used for analysis? So what you do, you select your data range, okay? Then go to home. Under home, we have format as table. So this one is going to enable automatic filtering, structured references, and easier analysis. If you don't follow this, you can use, we have a shortcut for that. So you select your data range, then you use Control+T or Control+T. Then it's going to convert your data set to a table. Okay. Another tip is always freeze the header row, especially when you have a huge data set and you have to keep on scrolling. Make sure you freeze the header row. Okay. Now, let me show you how we do it practically. So I'm going to move those colors. So I'm going to select this data set, okay? Then go to home. Under home, just after the number section, we have styles. Under styles, we have format as table. You can select, you can give that you want to use. Has used. So where is the data for your table? So it's going to take the range that you selected. Should you, my table has headers? Yes, of course. Here has our data here has heads. So you select that. So okay, so it automatically filters the the column headers. Yeah. So that is to mean you can check, do we have maybe how many patient IDs do we have? For cases where we expect categorical type of data like gender, it's going to show that we have we have female and male as our main categories. Under disease, we have a number of them, but again, you realize we have diabetes, hypertension, malaria. So this is to mean you can guess that the second one was supposed to be malaria, but there was some, errors. So those are some of the things that you look at. You use the filter to know the contents of your column, okay? And it is still under the, under the filters that you're able to tell whether a column has any missing value, okay? Like under age, it's going to show us all the details. Then you realize we have something that is blank, okay? So that is to mean blank is a missing value. We do not have anything there, okay? So what you do, you can deselect, then select blanks to see the rows that have missing values under the age column. Then you'll be able to tell that patient ID P0049, we don't have their age. So what are we going to do now that we do not have their age and we're supposed to do some analysis? So before you even proceed to analyze, handling the missing value, that is how you identify missing values in Excel. And that is why it is important to convert your table or your data set into an Excel table before you proceed. Okay. Then for admission, you want to check it's either no or yes. So if we had another category, we'd want to know, was it an error or is it there? Okay. Then under private, under insurance, we have a number. So we have private, we have SHA, then we have blanks. Okay. So let's see. None, how many were they? That have none, they are quite a number. They are also quite a number. For those that are for SHA, how many are they? They are also quite a number. And for blanks, remember blanks in Excel represent missing values. So how many are missing the insurance part? We only have one person. Yeah, so we're supposed to know, how do we deal with that? Do we do away with, is it something that can be something that we can replace? If not, is it okay if we do away with that column? I mean, not column, but that entire row. Okay. I hope that is clear. Again, this is a tip. By the way, if you're using Excel for analysis, make sure you convert your data set into an Excel table. Okay. The other bit is always freeze the header row, especially if you're dealing with huge data sets that you will keep on scrolling downwards. Yeah. So how do we do that? You select that row, okay, the one that has column headers. You go to view. Under view, we have a new window, arrange all, then we have freeze panes. Then we have a drop-down list there for freeze panes. So this one is going to keep rows and columns visible while the rest of the worksheet scrolls. Okay, so this one, if you select this, it's going to freeze the rows or the columns that you have highlighted or selected. Okay. Then freeze top row. This one automatically freezes the top row. Okay. Then freeze the first column. It's going to automatically freeze the first column. For our case, we want to freeze the top row, because it's the one that contains the column headers. So if we can do that, freeze top row. So what we have here, I have done that. So if I scroll downwards, I will not need to keep on going up to know what column was that, and so on and so forth. So it's important for you to freeze the column headers, especially when you're doing, data exploration. You just want to understand your data. I hope we're able to follow through and it's clear up to that point. Yeah, so that is data structure in Excel. Now, we have data cleaning in Excel. How do we go about data cleaning in Excel? Now, remember, the main things that we are looking at is duplicates, missing values. Do we have text data type that is inconsistent? And if it's there, how are we supposed to deal with that? Okay, so that is why I still insist, before you clean your data, familiarize yourself with your data. Go check, especially once you convert your data set into an Excel table, go to those filters, check the drop-down list. How many categories do we have? How are the county names? Just to check whether you have any structural sort of an error. Okay. Then if you're supposed to replace, for example, you have NRB and you're supposed to replace it with Nairobi, how do you go about that? When it comes to handling missing values, first of all, you need to identify, do we have any missing value? So identify the missing values, then see how you can replace those missing values. Okay, now maybe we can do an example before we proceed to the Excel functions. So we want to see, do we have any duplicates? Do we have any duplicates in our data set? Yeah. So what we do for Excel, it's so direct, by the way. So what happens? You go to data. Yeah. So first of all, you need to highlight, or rather highlight your data or select your data. So this is the data that we are dealing with. Then you go to, on the ribbon, select data. Under data, we have get external data. We don't want that. Get and transform. That is not what we're looking for. Connections, no. Sort and filter, no. Then we have data tools. Under data tools, we have text to columns, and then we have remove duplicates. It is as direct as that. So you have highlighted your data, then select remove duplicates. So because for our case, we have column headers, that is why, first of all, it's going to show all the columns. So for duplicates, and kindly just remember this, for duplicates, we are looking at the entire data set. We are not looking at each column, because if you were to look at each column or an individual column, for example, the outcome column, we have a number of recovered, okay? And if you were to remove duplicates under, outcome, under outcome, then we're going to remain with only 3 options, I believe. Is it recovered, referred, and something else? Yeah. So the thing is, when you're removing duplicates or handling duplicates in Excel, all the column headers should be selected. All the column headers should be selected. Okay. Okay, I hope that is clear. So what I'm going to do is, okay. So it shows us that no duplicate values found. Okay, now let me try and do something here. I want to duplicate a row. I want to duplicate it, and I want to duplicate it here, or maybe somewhere in between. Insert copied cells. This won't work because it would move cells in a table on your worksheet. Okay, it's because the table has already been converted to worksheets. Okay, to an Excel table. That's okay. Let me try and do something here. This is another Excel worksheet. So I have that. Yeah. So I want to check whether I have duplicates here. And remember, for duplicates, we remove them. Yeah. So I'm going to select my data as it is, go to data, then remove duplicates there. Yes, my data has column headers, and the column headers are facility ID, facility name, levels, beds, and county. Then select OK. So it's going to show that 1 duplicate value found and removed. 6 unique values remain. Then, okay, so that is to mean we have dealt with duplicates. Okay, I hope that is clear. So that is how we deal with duplicates. What do? Select your entire data set. Under the ribbon, go to data, then select duplicates. Then it's going to remove the entire, it's going to remove duplicates from your data set. Okay, Now, I want us to maybe look at maybe something like, let's see, county. Under county, the counties that we have and how they've been written. Good. Now we have Kiambu, we have Kisumu, we have Machakos, we have Nairobi, then we have Nairobi, then we have Nakuru. So if you have interacted with this data and you know that we do not have a county by the name Nairobi, it should be Nairobi, then you know that this Nairobi here has some structural issue. It has a structural issue, okay? So what are we supposed to do? You can decide, this is the first way of dealing with that. Deselect those ones, then you select the one with Nairobi, okay? I mean Nairobi, and it's only one, okay? It is only one. So what do? You just come and add the I there. Then you'll be good, okay? So there's that option. But this option applies in cases where your data set is not as huge, by the way, okay? So what we do, let me undo that. So let me do that. So I'm going to select all and we get our data set back. So what I'm supposed to do is, I'm going to select, you've already identified the one that has a problem, and it is Nairobi, right? And you want it to be replaced by, or to be replaced by, or rather it should be Nairobi, okay? So what I do, I'm going to select that column, that particular column, then use Control H. Control H in Excel is for finding and replacing. So we want to find, so Control H. So what do you want to find? I want to find Nairobi, Nairobi as it is written, and I want to replace it with Nairobi. Then what do? Replace all in case, sorry. Okay. No, it shouldn't be that way. There's Nairobi, it should be, so find Nairobi, is it there? So find all, let's see. What is it saying? So we have that, then you're supposed to replace it. So it's going to replace it, and now we have Nairobi, okay? So what is the shortcut again? Control H. Control H, that one is for find and replace. I hope that is clear. Okay. Now, lastly, before we take a break, because we're supposed to take maybe a 5-minute break, the other bit is handling missing value. And how do you handle missing values? We have a shortcut, Control G. Yeah, so you might as well select Control A. Sorry. Yeah, then Control G. So go to, then under special, you want to check whether you have a missing value. Now let's see whether this one is going to work. You want to check whether you have blanks, then select OK. Then it should show you where you have a blank space. So under age, you have a blank space. And I believe under insurance, we also had a blank space. Yeah, so that is Control G. Again, let me show you how you go about that. Sorry. You select your data. What have I done? Then Control G. Then go to Special. Then we have Select Blanks. Then it should show you age. And we also have insurance. So we have 2 columns that have missing, or rather 2 records, not columns, 2 records that have missing values. Then you can now go ahead and now see how you deal with that. Yeah, so how do you deal with the age? Okay, how do you deal with the insurance, the missing part under insurance? Now, maybe just to mention, when it comes to replacing values, we have a number of things that we usually consider. And there was a question that was asked yesterday about in cases where you have you're supposed to call, you have some missing information that, first of all, you cannot go back to that person to get that information. It is personal. It is unique information. Okay, for example, if you missed my name, there's no way you can give me, maybe you have my first name, there's no way you can guess the second name and give me something like Wangare who? Wangare Ochieng. There's no way we can work with that because that is a unique aspect. Yeah. So for that particular case, you might decide to do away with that entire record. Okay. You might decide to do away with that entire record. If not, for example, for the insurance case, you can decide to work with none. Yeah, you just put it as none because you cannot guess whether it is difficult to guess whether it's private, is it SHA, is it something else? So what you do, you just use none. Again, you want to look at how relevant is this column? Okay, how important is this column? For example, if you want to look at, you want to analyze the outcomes, you want to tell us the number of people who recovered or referred, going to be difficult if you don't have that information, because you cannot give us as an option, yes, I recovered, it's just that it wasn't recorded. That is not going to give accurate results. Okay, so my point is you want to look at the intensity of that column that has a missing value. And if it's something that you cannot replace, then do away with that column. If something that can be replaced, or maybe in your organization, you've decided if the insurance column has not been recorded, we are going to replace it with none. Then replace that with none, because you cannot tell whether they were using SHA or private. Okay. When it comes to a numerical column like age, in this case, you can decide to do to calculate the median. Again, calculate the median, and you work with, you just replace the missing value with the median of that particular column. But if it's a very important column, a vital column for that analysis, and you only have one record that has a missing value in that particular column, then just do away with it. Instead of replacing, alafu it's going to give you inaccurate results. Okay, I hope that is clear. So that is how we go about data cleaning in Excel. So we've looked at not validation, but we've looked at dealing with duplicates. We've looked at missing values. How do you identify missing values and how do you replace them? And when it comes to structural type of errors, how do you deal with them? So we have the control find Control G for finding, not G, Control F for finding and replacing, okay? Then if you want to check the missing values that you have in your data set, you use Control G. So you're going to select blanks, then it's going to take you to the, it's going to show you the blank values or the blanks that you have in your data set. I hope that is clear. So we're going to take a break, a 5-minute break. So we should be back by 7:15. Then we can proceed from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Wangari, for that insightful first half lesson of day 2 courses. So students will take a 5 minutes break to resume at 7:15 p.m. In the meantime, I'm still taking up some of your questions. I believe for quite a number of the questions, I've been able to respond. Regarding the attendance sheet, I've been able to just pinpoint what had transpired. So please proceed to just fill in today's attendance. We'll also have a record of those who attended yesterday's class. We'll just be able to mark them all together and be able to just account for each and every person. I'm also seeing questions touching around the form. I believe majority of the attendees have been able to access the form. Anyone who is having a challenge, perhaps just check, since it's a Google Doc, perhaps you're not already signed in using Google. Just go and paste it on a different browser so that it actually prompts you for your Google ID. I think the other administrative question was regarding the material. So yes, the recording will be shared. The recordings will be shared at the end of the course, which is tomorrow. We already have your details. That's why we encourage you. Please fill in the details with the correct information. That way, we'll actually be able to just share these details straight to your email. And as well, we have the WhatsApp group for those who've been able to join. You can just be able to just update and confirm that you have access to the materials which are shared there. And as always, we are live on YouTube as well. The students who are actually following up on YouTube, we have some here. We have a majority of the students here on Teams, and we look forward to the second half of today's lesson. For the questions regarding the topic and the course for today, Wangari will be able to just address some of the pertinent questions that are coming up very, very fast and furious before the end of the lesson. For anything which is coming up that has not been addressed, please feel free to post it on the chat. Put as many as possible. We want to make the session interactive as well. I know we are quite many, but we are able to just see your responses and able to see your comments. Some have suggestions. And for anyone having challenges seeing the screen, I believe just for a few minutes, maybe there were a bit of technical challenges, but all through the session is clear, and majority of the students have been able to follow it from start to finish. So let us just recap. Unless any of the admins has any other comments, we can just wait for the break to conclude before the class comes back on. Thank you.
So welcome back. We continue with Microsoft Excel for data analysis. So we've dealt with the first bit, which is cleaning data. We want to clean this data for analysis. So once we clean the data for analysis, the next thing is now the analysis itself, yeah? And we have a number of functions that we have for analysis. And these functions are there in Excel and they're in form of formulas. So they're quite a number. The most commonly used functions for analysis in Excel are, we have sum. So these ones are used for, so sum, average, count, maximum, minimum, range. They're usually used for summary statistics. Okay. So for example, we have sum and it's an inbuilt function. So these ones are inbuilt functions, inbuilt formulas. Like we have sum. So the formula is equal to sum. Then inside those parentheses, that is where you write your range of numbers. And this range of numbers are usually in form of cell numbers. Again, even before I proceed, anytime you're calculating or doing a calculation in Excel, you have to start with an equal sign to mean that this is a formula. It's not a value, it is a formula. Okay, so we're supposed to do some calculation. So equal to, if you're doing totals, if you want to add a number of values in maybe in a column, we use sum. So equal to sum into brackets, the range of cells that you're calculating their totals. Okay, so that one is going to total a range, and we have an example there, equal to sum into, so it's going to calculate the totals, or rather it's going to do an addition of cell B2, the contents of cell B2 up to the contents of cell B100. Okay, the same thing for average. So you just need to know, what am I calculating? Is it totals? Is it, am I supposed to calculate the mean? Am I supposed to count the number of transactions or the number of patients that we had? Yeah, so for that, you're going to use count. It's going to count numeric entries. We have count if. So count if, it counts with a condition. So for example, the example that we have here, count if, so you want to know the number of records for Nairobi County. Okay, so count if that particular column, but specifically it should be Nairobi. Okay, sum if, the same thing. It's going to calculate the totals, but with a condition. So sum if A2 to A1, A100 is health, then B2 to B, if A2, it starts with the condition, if A2 to A100 is health, then calculate the sum of B2 from B2 to B100. Then we have the if condition. So this one is a logical test. And we have an example here. So if we start with the condition, if B2 is 80, then it should be categorized as pass. If not, okay, the if not there, that is to mean if that condition, the first condition wasn't met, then it should be categorized as fail. So the if condition most times is used in cases where you need to categorize a certain column or you want to grade, yeah, for those that are in education. Yeah, you want to, in the education sector, you want to grade. So we usually use the if statement. So the first bit or the first argument there is if condition. So if that condition is met, the first one, pass is executed. If that condition is not met, the second one is then executed. Okay, then we have VLOOKUP or the lookup functions. Lookup functions are usually used in cases where you have a number of tables that are related to each other. I repeat, a number of tables that are related to each other, and you want to search for maybe an item that is in an item that is in table 1, whose details are found in table 2. I repeat, lookup functions are used when you want to search an item and you're dealing with a number of data sets or a number of tables. Okay, so you have the details of a particular dress in table 2, but you want to know which dress is this. Yeah, so which dress is this? So you use a lookup function to help you get the specific dress from table 1. I hope that is clear. Now, where are these Excel functions found? So we go back to Excel. So, and from our ribbon, we have home, insert, page layout, then we have formulas. And we have quite a number of formulas, yeah? So we have, if you want to write a formula, yeah, so you just select that, then the formula bar is going to be activated. Okay, so insert a function. So then we have AutoSum. Under AutoSum, this one is usually for calculating summation. So you select that particular column. For example, I'm going to select this column here because it's numerical. Then go to formula, then AutoSum. Then it should give me the summation at the bottom. It should give me the summation. Let me see. So summation. So it's from P002 down there. Then, sorry, it should give me the summation there. Sorry. It should be down there. So that is auto summation. Okay. Then we have those ones that are recently used. For those that are in finance and in accounts, we have your formulas there. So you just select, because you already know, and that is why we talked about in data analysis, just like data science, you have to be well versed with your domain, yeah, for you to be able to know what does nominal mean. Yeah, so what does PMT mean? What is duration? Where do we use the duration formula? Yeah, and so on and so forth. For logical formulas, this is where we have and, false, if error, if not true. For text data type, we have formulas. Formulas like we have character. This one is going to return the character specified by the code number from the character set for your computer. We have clean, we have code, we have concatenate. If you want to join a number of text functions, yeah, you use the concatenate function. We have exact. This one checks whether two text strings are exactly the same. So if they are the same, if text 1 and text 2, for example, if you want to, you have another column here for gender, just for checking whether they are the same. Yeah, you use the exact function, and the exact function is going to return true if the two of the functions are correct. I mean, they are the same. If not, it's going to give you a false. Okay. We have quite a number. We have proper. So for proper, this one converts. Now let me show you proper casing. Let me, okay. For example, I want to change this to something like Westlands as it is. Okay, let me do something here. So we have a column by the name, not a column, a cell with Westlands, and I'm supposed to convert this to a proper casing. So proper casing, what I do, it's going to give you the right format. Proper casing is where you start with the capital letter and the other letters in that word are in small letters. Okay, so we have equal to. Remember, any function in Excel, you have to start with equal sign. Okay, with an equal sign, sorry. So equal to proper, select that. Then our text is that. Yeah, so it's going to, I want you to take note of, for those people that do not usually interact with Excel most times, in Excel, we use reference numbers, cell reference numbers. So this particular cell, instead of it showing me Westlands, it's going to take the cell reference number, which is N4. Okay, then you close that bracket. Then it's going to convert. It's going to convert my Westlands to the proper casing, and the proper casing is capital W, then capital W, and then the rest are in small cases. Not small cases, but they're in lower cases, sorry. Okay. The other formulas, so we were looking at text. Those are text formulas. They are quite a number. If you want to know the number of characters of your string, of your word, yeah, you usually use LEN, that is for length. Yeah, length, it's going to give you the number of characters for that particular word. And someone would be asking, where am I using, something like, why do I need to know the number of characters in a word? Sometimes there are those columns that you just need to fit in a specific number of characters. It should not be more than maybe 5 characters. Yeah, so that is why it's important for you just to check how many characters are in these words here. Okay. There are quite a number. Maybe at your own time, you can check those text functions. Then under date and time, when you're dealing with date and time data type, we have these functions. For example, if you use date, this one is going to return the number that represents the date in Microsoft Excel, date time code. If you want to show time, so this one is going to convert hours, minutes, and seconds given as numbers to Excel serial number, and so on and so forth. They are quite a number. Then for lookup, these ones again, lookup functions are used for searching. Again, most of them, these functions here are used for searching. You want to check, you want to search what? An item from your data set. Yeah, so is it address? Is it a column, a particular column? For HLOOKUP, you want to check a row. Yeah, for VLOOKUP, you want to check a column. Yeah, the leftmost column of a table, and so on and so forth. For match, you want to look up a particular item that matches another item in another table. Yeah, you use the match function. So those are the lookup and reference functions. Then we have mathematics and trigonometric functions as well. For those that are in the mathematical fields, you know these formulas here. Yeah, they are quite a number. So you're the one to know, what am I calculating? Which formula am I supposed to use? If it's multiplication, we have product. If it's division, we have a formula for that. If it's summation, you want to calculate the totals, we have sum. For those, yeah, and so on and so forth. There are quite a number. And then we have more functions. For statistical functions, engineering, they are there. So it's up to you to know which formula to use when. I hope that is clear. So we have the VLOOKUP and the XLOOKUP. We're going to look at that because we have an example that we're supposed to do here. And that one is still under functions that we usually use in Excel. Then we have pivot tables. And a pivot table is an analytical tool that is used in Excel. This one helps with summary statistics and descriptive analytics. Okay, it's a pivot table. So if you want to calculate the average, could be average, it could be standard deviation, whatever you want to calculate, but it's under summary statistics. Yeah, we usually use pivot tables. In short, if you want to do quick analysis of your data in Excel, again, quick analysis, we usually use pivot tables. And how do we create these pivot tables? First thing first, you need to select your data range. So click anywhere inside your data set. Then on the ribbon, on the Excel ribbon, we have insert. So you select that, then you're going to see pivot table. So we have table, then pivot table. So select pivot table. Then that is where you choose where do you want this pivot table of yours to be located. Then you choose the worksheet that you want your, do you want it in a new worksheet or in the same worksheet? Then you go ahead and drag the fields, then you do your summary. Okay. Now, maybe I can show you that. I'm really trying to see how we're going to manage that time, but let me just show you how we go about pivot tables. So if you're to use this data set, you go to insert. Under insert, you have pivot table, recommended pivot tables. Then you want, there is also table. Yeah, if you want to create a new table. So select pivot table. So you see, when you select pivot table, it's going to select that. Just because I had selected this particular data set, it's going to automatically select that table. Okay, so in short, what I'm doing is I want to create a pivot table from this table that is already there. Okay, so go to insert pivot table. So from table 1, then choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed. If you want it to be on the same worksheet, then you can select existing worksheet. But for existing worksheet, then you have to show us where exactly do you want it to be placed. So you give us something like that. You select outside that, the original table. But if you want it to be placed on a new worksheet, select that, then okay, select okay. So this was our this is our original table, and now this one here is where our new table, our pivot table, has been is going to be created. Okay. Now I want you to realize that now we have the fields, the data fields here. Yeah, like the column headers that we had on our other table. So you're the one to select, what do I want to do? Okay. So if you want to, for example, if you want to maybe do something like, let me see what we can do. We want to select, we want to just do a quick analysis of the counties and the number of patients that we had. So what we do, we're going to select patient ID. Okay, for patient ID, it's going to give us all the patients that we had. For counties, it's going to show us the number of counties that we had. Okay, now I want you to take note of something. From our whatever data that we have here, we have Nairobi in caps. We have Kiambu, we have Kisumu, we have Machakos, we have Nairobi, and we have Nakuru. We have Nairobi there, Nairobi. So there are three, and yet they're supposed to be one county. So that is to mean we are supposed to clean our data. We were supposed to clean our data. Okay. Now, let us work with another column like gender. So for gender, we have male and female. Okay. And from male and female, I want us to see something like treatment costs. The average treatment costs for each, for the two genders, the average, take note of this, the average treatment costs for each gender. Okay. Now, what we do, first of all, you have selected gender. Then it's going to automatically, I want you to take note of, under the fields, we have filters, we have columns, we have rows, and we have values. So for rows and columns, it can take any, it's going to take any columns or any variables. For values, it takes columns that are numerical. Again, under values, it takes columns, or rather it allows columns that are numerical. So for our case, remember, we want to calculate, we want to see what was the average treatment cost by gender. So what I do, I'm going to select that, but now this one should be dragged under values. Yeah, it's going to be dragged to values because that is what we are calculating. So what do I do here? What am I calculating? So there's a drop-down list or a drop-down arrow there. So I select that, and we have a menu there, move to report filter, move to row labels, move to column headers. No. Do you want to remove that field from that particular field? No. What I want to do is go to value field settings. Value field settings. So this is where you select the kind of calculation that you want to do. Do you want to calculate sum? Do you want to calculate count? For count, it's going to count the number of individual records. Do you want to calculate average? Do you want to calculate maximum, minimum, product, standard deviation, variance, and so on and so forth? For our case, we were calculating average. So I'm going to select average there, then select OK. So it's going to show me for the female gender, the average of treatment cost was 12,530. For male, the average treatment cost was 14,003. Okay, so how do you use this report? This is quick analysis. So for example, if you are to report this, you'd say, from our analysis, any female that comes here is likely to spend an average of 12,530. Okay, With that information, they can go ahead and do some predictive analysis because they already have the average treatment cost. So that is to mean if tomorrow, okay, this is hospital or this health matters, but if it was something to do with business, then they would predict that, for example, if tomorrow we had around 15 ladies coming to our shop, then we are likely to have 15 times 12,530 because the average amount spent by ladies or females is 12,530. Okay, now here, this is a pivot table, and a pivot table is used to do quick analysis. Again, I want you to realize a pivot table cannot do advanced analysis. It can only do simple things like summation, count, average, maximum, if you want to check the maximum value, minimum product, and so on and so forth. So for example, if you want to check the maximum treatment cost for each gender, you just select maximum, okay? Then it's going to show you that the female patient who spent most, they spent 24,526, and the male who spent most, they spent 24,900. Okay, and you can have another column for minimum. You just want to compare what is the range. The range of, treatment cost for female is between this as the minimum and maximum as 24,526. That is a pivot table. So a pivot table is usually used for quick analysis. And most times for those people who do dashboards in Excel, they usually use pivot tables for dashboards. Okay, they usually use pivot tables for dashboards. I hope that is clear. Yeah. So that is a pivot table. If you want to, if you want to add filters on your pivot table, we have that option here of adding filters. You just need to drag the column that you want to filter with. Yeah, the column that you want to filter with there. Or we have an option of, we have a shortcut formula for that, which is Control-Shift-L. It's going to add filters. Yeah, then you can refresh your table. The reason why you need to refresh you have to keep refreshing your pivot table is for cases where your data is, you're using live data and it's an automated system, then you might need to keep refreshing your data. Okay, so those are pivot tables in Excel. Then we have conditional formatting, and conditional formatting is used in cases where you have conditions. Yeah, again, as the word suggests, you have conditions and you want to show that this color code represents a certain condition or a certain rule. For conditions in Excel, we are looking at rules. So we are going to set rules, and then these rules are going to be applied. Okay, and for conditional formatting in Excel, we usually have color codes. Yeah. So how do you apply conditional formatting in Excel? So under Home, we have conditional formatting. So you're going to highlight the cell rules. Then you're going to select how do you want them to be conditioned. And I'm going to show you that very fast because of time. because of time. So under home, for example, let me see, under home, so you have to select your data first, then go to home. Under home, we have styles. Under styles, we have conditional formatting. So this is why you highlight cell rules. Like, for example, you have greater than. If, of course, for greater than, less than, between, equal to, those ones are for numerical type of data. Okay, then for text type of data, you can select something like text that contains, maybe you give something like maybe male, it should be given this color. So this is where you select the color. So if you want something like female should be red, male should be yellow. So that is how you select. So first of all, you need to select the entire data set. For example, this here. Okay, I might need to unhide. Yeah, so you select this column here, this gender column here, and then let me see, just a minute. Okay, let me see, just a minute. I want to copy this and then paste it somewhere here. So select that column, then go to home, conditional formatting. We can have text that contains male, should be a red fill. Okay, male is going to be everywhere. So let's say female. Should be green fill. Then okay. So that is to mean you already know there is a condition that has been set, and the condition is the green color there is going to represent a certain, maybe gender. Yeah, you can as well customize that. So that is conditional formatting. Yeah, and so for conditional formattings, we have you can use rules. We have data bars. You have color scales, we have icon sets. It depends on how you want to differentiate those ones that meet a certain condition and those ones that do not meet a certain condition. Okay, so that is under conditional formatting. Then we have creating charts in Excel. How do you create charts in Excel? We have visualizations in Excel, and for you to be able to create a visualization, you go to insert. Yeah, so we have I'm really trying to rush through because time is not on our side. You have this data here. So you go to insert, and insert, so leave alone the tables. We have illustrations, we have addings, then we have charts. So this is where you come and select the chart that you want to visualize. Okay, then we have pivot chart. So for pivot chart can only be used in a case where you already have a pivot table. Yeah, so a pivot table and you want to create a chart, you use a pivot chart. You're going to select pivot chart. But for our case here, because this is not a pivot table, yeah, what we have here is not a pivot table, we're going to use insert, then you select the chart that you want to work with. I hope that is clear. For example, if you want to insert a pie chart, we have a 2D pie chart, 3D, and then we have a donut chart. And I'm going to mention this because we're going to cover this tomorrow under data visualizations. Before you select a chart, we have some considerations or factors that you need to consider. You just don't select a chart for the sake of selecting. We have reasons why you go for a pie chart and not a bar chart. And majorly, it's determined by the type of data. If your data is categorical, that is to mean it has categories, it has levels, then you can use something like a bar chart. If your data is numerical, you're supposed to use something like numerical to mean like age or something. Okay, let's work with sales. Yeah, you can decide to go with scatter plot. Okay, so it depends on, first of all, the type of data and the kind of analysis that you're doing. If you just want to display distribution, you can go with a donut chart or a pie chart. Okay, if you want to display distribution of categories, you can work with a bar chart or a column chart. Okay, if you want to display trends, a trend, or if you want to do some trend analysis, you can work with an area chart or a line chart, something that is going to work with time. Okay, if you're dealing with hierarchical type of data, you can work with a funnel chart. Yeah, there are quite a number, and each chart is used for a specific task. You just need to know, what am I supposed to display? So if I'm supposed to display distribution of proportions, yeah, then I can work with a pie chart. I hope that is clear. Yeah. So let me see, maybe we can do one as I proceed. Can select that. So you're going to select the column, then go to the column that you want to display, then select pie chart. Then it should, okay, this one is not going to work. This one is not going to work. Let me see if I have a data set that I can work with. So I'm going to select this, then insert. So this is where I add data labels. And of course your data, sorry about this. Just a minute. Let's see whether we're going to be able to do something here. Something like a column chart. Then you're supposed to select data. Okay. Okay. Let me see. No. This data has to be categorized. Okay. Let me see what the issue is. I'm going to look at that. Then you're going to do that example together. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So this is the procedure. So you go to the Insert tab to access chart options, then you choose the chart type. So where you select, is it a column chart, line chart, or a pie chart as appropriate. Then select data, then format and label. So you select data where you highlight the cells with labels and values, then format. Under format, that is where you add the titles, the legends, and not access, but axis labels. Yeah, so we have if you want to compare categories, you can work with a column chart or a bar chart. If you want to work with, you want to show trends over time, you can work with a line chart. If you want to show proportions, you can work with a pie chart or a donut chart. Yeah, then still under Excel, we have sorting and filtering data. Why do you want to sort? Sorting gives you order. You want to arrange your data in an ascending order or in a particular order. You use sorting. Okay, so how do you go about sorting? Again, sorting is for giving order. Yeah, A to Z or Z to A. Or if you're dealing with numbers from the highest to the lowest. If you're dealing with dates from the oldest to the most recent, okay, that is sorting. So you select that particular column, then go to data. Under data, we have sort, then you can give it the order. So you order by a certain rule. Okay, then we have filtering. So under filtering, we just want to understand what categories do we have, or in short, what are the contents of this particular column. Okay, so what you do, you select that particular column, then you go to data, select that particular column, then go to data. Under data, we have filter. Ours is already filtered, and that is why we have the drop down there. If you had data that wasn't filtered, something like this, you select this data, go to data, then select filter. It's going to filter the column headers. Then you have a drop down list which shows the contents of your data. And in this case, it's going to show you the unique contents. So we have D01, D02 up to D06. For disease, we have diabetes, hypertension, malaria, maternal health, pneumonia, tuberculosis. That is filtering. Okay. For sorting, you select your data. So if you want to remove the filters, you select your data, go to data. Then we have this sort and filter. Just select sort and filter. Which column do you want to filter by? Is it the first column or the second column, column A or column B? So we select column A. How do you want it to be filtered? So we have cell by cell color or font color or the values. For our case, it's the values. Which order? Is it from A to Z or Z to A, or do you want a specific way of ordering? Okay, so the reason as to why it is A to Z automatically, it's because the type of data that we have here, the type of data that we have here is a text type of data. Yeah, because it is D01, D02, so it has been recorded as a text type of data. Okay, I hope that is clear. So that is sorting and filtering, and it's a very important aspect when it comes to analysis in Excel. Then we have conditional analysis. So conditional analysis, we have conditions. So how do you want to calculate? So you want to count the number of records that meet a certain condition. So that is why we have count if. If you want to do you want to do totals of a particular column, but there is a condition that you're looking at. You only want to calculate the totals of health departments. Yeah, so for example, the example that we have here, sum if A to 100 is health, then calculate its budget, total budget. So this is the range, what we are looking at. The condition is the criteria. The condition should be health. It has to be the health department. So what are we calculating? The sum of this particular column. Okay, so these ones are used for conditional analysis. Okay, now the other bit is, allow me just to extend with maybe 6 minutes or so. In 6 minutes, I should be done with everything so that we are able to wind up on Microsoft Excel kindly. Yeah. So we have data validation, and data validation helps in preventing errors during data entry. Okay. So how do you set up this data validation? These are rules that you can only allow a certain number and not any other number other than this particular range. So with data validation, you're able to prevent errors during data entry, especially when you're doing data entry in Excel. Yeah, for those people that do data entry, this is something that you can consider to maybe apply. So how do you set up data validation? Again, data validation is a way of controlling errors, to reduce errors during data entry in Excel. How do you set up data validation in Excel? So you're going to go to data, under the that ribbon, Excel ribbon, select data. Under data we have data validation, then you go to settings. Under settings, that is where you now give us the conditions or the rules. So you only want to allow whole numbers in this particular column. So if you bring in some decimal numbers, it's not going to allow those decimal numbers. If you're working with a list, drop down of allowed values, it should only be county names. Okay. If you're working with dates, you're going to give us the specific format. Then if it's text length, how many characters are we supposed to work with? Or how many characters should be allowed in this particular column? So that is data validation. Maybe we can do something on that very fast. So we have this data. Then under data tools, just right under remove duplicates, that is where we have data validation. So select data validation, and under settings, allow any value. No, you don't want to allow any value. So what you want to do, now these are the conditions. I can only allow a whole number in that particular cell. Okay. So I can only allow decimal, list, date, time, text length. And if you want to customize it, you can select that as well. So if you want to have a formula for that, a formula that is going to be used for that particular value, then you can do that. So let us work with the whole number. So this whole number, it can be between a range of numbers, say 0 to 100. So if I put something like 1,000, it's not going to be allowed. Yeah, not between, should be equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, so we're going to work with between. So the minimum value should be 1 and the maximum value should be 200. Then, okay. So that is to mean it's between 1 and 200. So if I put something like 100, it's going to be allowed. But if I put something like 207, it's not going to be allowed. So this value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. So those are data validation rules. And where are they used, or when do we usually use this? In those cases where we are doing data entry and we want to reduce errors. So we put, conditions, or rather rules that are supposed to be met. Okay, I hope that is clear. Yeah. We talked about functions in Excel, and we looked at the text functions. Most of the text functions are used during data cleaning, and there are quite a number. They are named there. If you want to, if you have extra spaces between the names, then you can use trim function. If you want to do proper casing, you use the proper function. If you want to have all the words in caps, or rather all the letters in caps, you use the upper function. All the letters to be in lowercase, you use the lower function. If you want to extract the left characters, use the left function. Right characters, use the right function. And if you want to join text data or text strings, you use the concatenate function. Those are the the text functions that we use, and again, they are usually used when doing data cleaning. Okay, then we have functions for descriptive analytics, or rather descriptive statistics. We have median, mode, standard deviation, minimum and maximum. Then we have percentile. Those are the functions that are usually used in Excel. And in this case, we are using Excel for analysis, not for data storage, for analysis. So this one can be used by accountants or procurement, department or something, for those that are not doing advanced analytics. Okay. So that is Excel. Now, because I'm going to share these materials with you, we have a practical exercise there. And it is so direct. It's giving you the formulas that you're supposed to use. So I'm going to share a data set, and then you can use that data set to do this practical example for it to make sense. Okay, so we're not going to do it together because of time, but I'm going to share this, and the notes are, they are very, these are things that you can read by yourself and understand them by yourself. Yeah. So that is it for now. And sorry for extending. I just had to extend a little bit so that I'm able to finish up with what we were supposed to cover today. Yes. Malcolm, are you there?
Yes, Mwalimu. Yes, Mwalimu. Thank you very much. That was quite a brainful. I believe the students have been able to ingest a lot of knowledge from you. I believe even as part of the team, we've also been able to follow through one by one. And again, I believe we've actually exhausted quite a lot of our time today. Good thing we started early. So I'll actually just put on a maximum of 3 questions from the students. And I believe you already answered one of the questions regarding the training materials, which we've been reiterating, that will be shared at the end of the course. So the one that actually picks out, again, from the students, they want to know what's the difference between data analytics and data science. Maybe you can take that.
Okay, good question. So for data analysis or data analytics, we stop at getting the results, and after those results, we can now recommend an action. Yeah. While data science, we continue from once we get the basic analysis results, we want to proceed to predicting. So there's predictive analytics. Then after that, we automate the process. So for data science, we're going to do basic analysis, then proceed to building models. So we are trying to solve a problem and we want to automate this thing. So we are going to build a model based on a number of machine learning algorithms or based on a machine learning algorithm. Then we automate the process. So I'm going to give an example. If you want to build a model for fraud detection, so we start by getting our data intact. So we have our data set, we clean that data, we transform that data. Then we proceed to using this data to build a model. And what is this model being used to? Being used for? It is supposed to help us predict the likelihood of a fraud. So we're going to build a model based on our data set. And this model, it is going to be continuously used for predicting an occurrence of fraud. Okay? Or rather, this model is supposed to help us detect an occurrence of fraud. Okay? So the point is, what I'm trying to say is, for data analysis, we stop at the results, analysis results. So if you are looking at average, okay, so we've gotten the average score. So with the average score, what am I supposed to do? So you go ahead and interpret those results and recommend an action. But for data science, we're going to automate the process. So we don't stop at analysis. We go ahead and build a model. Then this model is going to be used to predict a likelihood of maybe a fraud or something like if you want to predict whether you're viable for credit in banks, so they usually use those models. So with data science, we are able to build models for prediction. Yes.
Thank you, Wangari. That is very, very well explainable. The other question is, when someone is importing data, or rather exporting data from one system to the other, and in this case, someone is exporting already clean data, let's say from Excel to BI. What are the factors to consider? So as by the time you're getting this data to the other system, the data is not distorted, the data remains intact.
Okay, good question. So what I'd say is, first of all, it's important for you to understand your data. Understand your data in this way. You have to do data exploration. Yeah, because you just want to familiarize yourself with the data set that you already have. And if it's already clean, and so for the example that you've given us, you want to import it to something like not import, but you want it to be used in Power BI. So for Power BI, you can be sure that your data is going to remain intact, because it allows, maybe if it's an Excel file, it allows different types of files or different types of data sources. Okay, but the most important thing is ensure that you're familiar with your data, such that if you transfer it to Power BI, or if you transfer it, or if you load in that file in Python, you're able to tell that there's something that is missing. But the likelihood of you missing of your data being distorted is maybe zero, because these tools are integrated in a way that you do not lose that information. Yeah, because it's automatic. Yeah, so it's going to take that data as it is. But the most important thing is explore your data, understand your data, even before transferring it to Python or transferring it to Power BI. You're aware of these are the column headers that I'm supposed to have. And these are the entries that are supposed to be there, but the likelihood of you losing data in between is next to zero. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And then just to wrap up, I think this should be a straightforward one. So a user here wants to know, what's the main advantage of using Python or even BI over Excel for big data?
This is so direct, because if you're using big data, that is to mean the type of data that you're dealing with is, in terms of size, it is huge. Yeah. And we said while we were starting that Excel allows, I mean, if you have to go, if you have to work with Excel, then your data size should be between small and medium. But if your data is huge in size, then go for Power BI, go for SQL, go for Python. Yeah, that is the first thing. Big data, most times, your data is massive. So Excel might not work. It's going to be a little bit slow because of the, the storage and those things. Number two, if it's I want to assume if it's big data analytics, then that is to mean there are functions that you cannot use, or rather there are functions that you cannot find in Excel, and but then they are found in Python and they are found in Power BI. So when you look at the functionalities or the tasks that you're supposed to perform, then there's no way you're going to there's no way you're going to work with Excel. So it sends you to either Power BI or Python. Yeah, so it's because of the size and also the task, size of the data set and the task that you're supposed to perform.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. And how you're able to just relate that question and make it practical and visual in a practical setting, that is very commendable. Thank you very much, Ms. Wangari, for today's session. I think before we go to any announcement, tomorrow will be the last lesson before we close the course. I'm not sure whether there is anything the students need to know prior to tomorrow's session. Is there going to be anything different? Because we want everyone to attend. Tomorrow we expect a full class attendance, since we're going to give you the whole bunch. So not quite sure whether there's anything that needs to come out on that.
So tomorrow we are supposed to do, or rather we're supposed to cover visualizations and also look at Power BI. So if you're able to have the Power BI on your side, maybe if you're able to install, or you already have it, the better. If you're able to, kindly install Microsoft Power BI. Yeah, it's free. The Power BI desktop, you can have it in your machines and maybe try and do something as we continue. Otherwise, I don't think there is any other thing that that you're supposed to have apart from just an expectant mind. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Wangari. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. People have understood, people have been able to hear clearly, and they've been actually asking a lot of questions. Some of them are actually just very, very excited and they're waiting for the next chapter. And then also just a reminder to the students, what you had mentioned earlier, the cited form is on the pinned message. And worry not, Mwalimu has agreed to share the notes once the lesson ends. And for any question which has not been addressed, we'll be able to just post this on the WhatsApp group, and we'll be able to just catch the remaining ones to be able to just address them tomorrow. This juncture, I'll hand it over to our partners from ICT. I don't know whether Connie is there.
Sorry, Mr. Malcolm. Mr. Coney left us minute or so. So maybe if you'd revert it back to Mr. Ricky or Madam Millicent.
All right. I believe our partners perhaps been able to drop off. But all in all, thank you very much, Mwalimu, for the lesson. We look forward with great anticipation for tomorrow. We'll come with very, very hungry minds and be ready to just indulge in the exercises. And someone mentioned that the form that was shared, one is able to fill in the details, which in turn would lead to a lot of data duplication. We were just making a laugh at it, saying, at least today we've learned how to remove duplicates on the data. So that should it be a problem for us to be able to handle. So on behalf of the team, thank you very much for attending the lesson, and we'll be able to see you guys tomorrow as we conclude. Have a blessed evening.